This is Your Life, a program for all America. Brought to you by New Green Comet Cleanser, the only cleanser fortified with chlorinol. Comet bleaches out stains, wipes out germs as no other leading cleanser can. Get New Comet. And Crest toothpaste with Fluorestan. And now here he is, Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards.
Hello, everybody. I'm speaking to you from the rear lobby of the new NBC office building next door to their television studios here in Burbank, California. There's the telephone that might be our principal subject. Mr. John Nelson, NBC program executive, has asked our principal subject to come to his office on the third floor for a little business talk. Well, their business completed, they're about to come down this elevator here right now. When the door slides open, you'll see a face as haunting as the face of Abraham Lincoln. And what memories will come to many of you when you see him? Memories of little movie theaters and silent picture days over a bag of peanuts or popcorn. We yelled with laughter at the antics of this sad-faced little man. He seemed to get into trouble every time he turned. I see the elevator has started down, so stand by for a great surprise. Oh, my. We called Mr. Nelson just a second ago to say that we had a little trouble on stage. That is, our confederate, actually, Axel Gruenberg, our producer, called Mr. Nelson, said, would you please come down on stage? So Mr. Nelson is bringing our subject. And, fine. Hello, Buster Keaton. How do you do? See, I'm a fan of yours from way back. And the fact is, come on out here, boys. Buster, he smells all right. John Nelson, come over here, Johnny. John Nelson and I have kind of framed you. You see, you're on television, coast to coast. America's waiting for the story of what... story of one of the immortals of the silent screen, you, Buster Keaton. For tonight, this is your life. Oh, our thanks. Where's Al Gregory? Al Gregory of Paramount Pictures, who was in on the plot. Thanks to you. Johnny Nelson, thanks very much, John. And Howard Ross over there, thanks so much. Look, Buster, you've been caught... you played a lot of practical jokes on people. You've been caught in one yourself now that you didn't create. Okay, boy?
Are they here? They're not here yet. Well, stay with us, ladies and gentlemen, because you're going to see highlights in the life of a great personality who was loved not only by millions of people all over the world in the movies he made, but by the friends who worked with him in the industry. And here they are now, ladies and gentlemen, our host, Ralph Edwards, and our honored subject master comedian, Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton, this is Bob Warren.
Pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thanks so much. Well, did we get you or did we get you, man? We got you. Buster, for a younger generation who didn't see your films, we're going to decorate your life with bits and pieces from your movies, which have never been beaten for deep down, satisfying laughter. Come over here and sit in our chair of honor, will you? This is your life, Buster Keaton. Here's one over here, Buster, you can look at. Over here. Listen. Your father teaches you early in life that a sure way to get a laugh is to sock somebody in the head with something. Your dad and mother, Joe and Myra Keaton, are gone now, of course, but they were vaudeville. They're on the road in Kansas when you're born. What kind of a show were they in at that time, Buster?
A medicine show.
Right. An old-time medicine show. And you idolize your father, who teaches you to fall and roll like a bouncing ball. At the age of 4, you proudly joined Mother and Dad in their act.
I got my first salary.
The roughest act in vaudeville. The first time I ever saw Joe Keaton throw Buster all around the stage like that, I was scared to death. I thought he killed the child.
Well, that's the voice of a lifelong friend from your vaudeville days. Later, she became a leading lady to such great stars as Rudolph Valentino, Will Rogers. From Glendale, California, here is motion picture actress Louise Dresser. What part did Buster play in the act of the three Keatons, Louise Dresser?
Well, he played the part of a very bad little boy. Now, don't you cry. You had me cry.
It's a thrill to see these two wonderful people here together. My goodness, Louise Dresser, what memories.
You know, one trick that Buster had that I remember very well.
Mm-hmm.
He used to stand on a table back of his father, whirling around a basketball on the end of a rope, while Joe was trying to shave himself with a straight-edge razor. The ball kept getting closer and closer and closer. All of a sudden, bang! Boy.
Right on Pop's head.
Right on his head.
And the audience would die laughing. Of course, what would your father do to you then, Buster, in the act? Wouldn't he?
Well, if he caught me, I got it.
He kicked you, he threw you off stage. Most people seeing your act know this is all for laughs, but now and then someone takes your falls and beatings seriously. And here to tell us what happened is a friend you haven't seen in over 20 years. From Muskegon, Michigan, where your family lived during summer vacations, is old-time vaudevillian Will Rawls. Here's Will. It's been a little while since you've seen this fella, hasn't it there? I guess Buster was almost too good at those falls and pantomime injuries. Is that so, Mr. Rawls?
Yes, he was quite often, the parents were quite often arrested, thinking that they were mistreating him. And then Buster would have to go down to the chief of police, pull off his little shirt and pants, and show them that he had no bruises or broken legs.
Years later, you see Buster attain his first boyhood dream. And what was that, Mr. Rawls?
What his father and us helped put him through the Elks, Muskegon.
Now, both you and Buster are lifetime members, aren't you, of the
Yes.
members of the Elks Club of Muskegon. And what else do you remember of Buster's boyhood days, Louise Dresser?
Oh, I remember so many things about him, nice things. But the nicest thing that I remember about Buster was his great devotion to his mother and his love for his little brother and sister.
Brother and sister, and here they
Whenever
are.
you ever saw this boy, those two children were always with him.
From Los Angeles, your sister Louise and your brother Harry Keaton. Here they are. What? Of course she helped frame you. The whole family was in. You're not safe at all anymore, Buster, with these fellas. What happens when Buster is about 19, Louise?
Well, our parents had to give up the vaudeville act, and he set out to support us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was determined that Louise and I would get the schooling that he never had.
Well, thank you, Louise and Harry Keaton, Louise Dresser, and Mr. Will Rawls of Muskegon, Michigan. You'll see Buster a little later. You'll see him later, Buster. Where's the makeup man? He's not dressed. It was Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle who first offers you a part in his screen comedies. You feel right at home because you got hit with something the first scene you played, didn't you, Buster?
Yep.
What was it with? With Fatty. Wasn't it a sack of flour?
Yeah, a sack of flour, it was about 3 pounds, and tied off tight, so there was no air in the package.
Real rock.
And I said, how am I going to keep from flinching? He says, look away from me. When I say turn, it'll be there.
And it was, and you did
He put my head where my feet were.
You show such great talent that after your return, of course, you couldn't help but show talent on a hit like that. But after your return from fighting in France in 1918, you're offered a chance to star in your own comedies.
No movie actor ever had a faster rise to stardom than Buster. In less than 2 years, he was famous all over the
A
world.
voice to awaken memories, Buster. He was the director of many of your earliest comedies. Now an executive with Spike Jones' staff. Here's your old friend, Mr. Eddie Klein.
Why?
As a young man, you worked for...
Right here, rehearsing.
You worked for Buster Keaton.
Spike Jones?
Spike was last night in a good show, too.
Yeah.
Wonderful starter.
Yeah.
As a young man, you worked for Buster Keaton, Eddie, a comedy genius. This man, Keaton. Did he keep you and the crew laughing all the time?
Well, we always had a wonderful time because this guy was always pulling jokes on us. Mrs. Darrell Zanuck was his leading lady at the time,
What was her name then?
Virginia Fox.
Yeah.
You remember? There was a scene in one of the movies where she was supposed to fall and catch fire clothes on a moose head.
Yeah.
This guy says, put her up there and leave her there. We put her up. Then he yelled, lunch.
It was worth your life to work for this fella. Mrs. Zanuck was going to be a part of your life tonight, Buster, but at the last second, she got a severe case of bronchitis and could not be here. She's watching and sends her love, of course.
Oh, she's a good sport, though. Say, you remember the time that she saw the smoke coming outside her dressing room window? You remember? And she yelled fire, and she tried to get out the door, and it was locked. She went to the phone, no answer. Then you rescued her before she really fainted. Then she found out about you lighting those smoke pots out there.
When leading ladies left your studio, Buster, they could face anything in the world, I think. Thank you for bringing us those memories, Mr. Eddie Klein.
Kind of crazy, didn't he?
With a sure instinct for laughs, you create most of your own great comedy situations. And how we loved it when you got into one mess after another. Now here, we see Keaton against a cyclone in Steamboat Bill Jr. Now the cyclone blew the hospital away, and there goes Buster in his bed. Oh man, what a storm. Look out, Buster! The building's apt to fall on you there if you're not careful. Just missed it. Now the wind has really taken hold. Oh, it's really got you there. Keep fighting, boy. You'll make it. Don't give up. Don't give up, Buster. You'll do it. Well, hilarious comedies like that one make you rich, and meanwhile you marry Natalie Talmadge. And you have 2 sons. You own a mansion, your own movie studio, a yacht, everything.
For a fellow with a lot to lose, Buster took terrible risks. In the most dangerous scenes, he would never use a double.
Well, that's the voice of one of your directors. In the 1920s, he went on to become one of the best-known and best-loved character actors of all time. One of Hollywood's leading citizens, ladies and gentlemen. Here's Mr. Donald Crisp.
I remember you distinctly. Nice thing on that seat.
We were afraid what this fellow might do is Buster, you know. We're all kind of standing by. Buster gave you chills many times, eh, Mr. Chris?
Mr. Edwards, I still gasp when I think of one scene that Buster did. He had the entire front of an apartment building. It was 3 stories high.
Yes.
And he planned for the entire front of the building to fall over. And he planned that one little window at the top should fit over him, and he hoped that he was standing in the place where that was. And when that fell, the cameraman fainted.
Well, here's that very scene. Now watch this and see how you'd like to have been in Buster's shoes that day. How do you feel today seeing it, Buster? Would you do it again? Oh,
No.
man. No. Now here's another scene we'll never forget.
Now, this is you, Buster. If you remember, I directed a picture with you called The Navigator. This is you under the water. And that day, someone had neglected to put the piano wire on the top of your diver's helmet. And you had jumped over the side of an ocean liner in about 150 feet of water with only the telephone connection on your helmet. And if it hadn't been for that one small wire, we'd have lost one of the kindest men I ever knew in my life. This man gave away his salary about every week. That's true, young man.
Thank you, Donald Crisp, for memories of days when Buster Keaton was the talk of Hollywood for his daredevil courage and his kind heart. As Mr. Crisp said, Hollywood would have lost one of its kindest gentlemen. Ahead of us, Buster Keaton, is a time when you nearly lose your famous sense of humor. Life smashes you to the ground. And how you pick up the pieces and go on, we'll find out in just a moment. You're ready for a little relaxation here, aren't you? Sit down, sit back, take it easy. Buster, first, let's turn our attention to this important message from Press